we are going to be talking about insecurity. This is the major concern. We have been making complaints about it. We've talked about it yesterday, and we want to hear the perspective of the Kaduna State government of why they thought, this should be implemented after trying every other way. So we're going to talk about the Kaduna Amnesty initiative, a bold move by the Kaduna State government to address the lingering security challenges in the region. As we all know, Kaduna State has been plagued by insecurity, with banditry, kidnapping, and communal clashes becoming all too common. The statistics are alarming, where, according to Nigerian Security Tracker, Kaduna State recorded over 500 violent incidents in 2022 alone, resulting in the loss of hundreds of lives and displacement of thousands of people. The impact on security on the people of Kaduna cannot even be overstated. Now, from the farmers who are unable to tend to their crops due to the fear of attack, to the children who are forced to abandon their education due to the closure of schools, the effects of insecurity are far-reaching and devastating. But the Kaduna Amnesty initiative aims to change the narrative, and this initiative, which was launched in 2022, offers amnesty to repentant bandits and other criminal elements who are willing to lay down their initiative or their arms and reintegrate into the society. And this initiative also includes the rehabilitation program, which provides vocational training and other forms of support to help former militants reintegrate into their communities. So, of course, there's a lot of questions on that, which is the major question we used yesterday. Will this initiative be the panacea of, or to security in Kaduna State? And can it bring the end of the violence, and hopefully we get to see the end of insecurity in Nigeria? But we have joining us, I think virtually, the Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Dr. James Kanyip. He is the Chief Security Officer of the state, and has been the forefront of the efforts, to address insecurity in Kaduna State. So he works closely with the Governor Obasani, to develop and implement Kaduna Amnesty initiative. Good morning, Doctor. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me online.
Yeah, it's good to have you. So let's talk about what the motive is behind Kaduna State government saying we should try, this amnesty initiative. Perhaps it could work. What's the motive behind it?
Well, let me start by making one conceptual clarification. The word amnesty is purely legalistic. I wouldn't want to say the process is amnesty in nature. It's a peace process. And the idea was actually conceived and initiated from the Office of the National Security Advisor to help states who are challenged by insecurity to see how they can help processes in terms of peace, bandits and kidnappers, etc., so as to bring lasting solutions to this menace that has actually bedeviled our society and states in general. So I don't want to call it an amnesty in the strict sense of it, because as I said earlier, amnesty is a legalistic concept. And if you go legalistic with these processes, you may not actually attain the desired result you wish. So it's a peace process, and Kaduna State has a peace dialogue group that is actually saddled with the responsibility to ensure that the process of peace is actually entrenched in the state, so as to curb the menace of banditry, kidnapping, and other criminalities that are associated with this. So this is the issue. And so far, so good. The state has recorded successes in this process. I think about more than 200 victims that have actually been set free without the payment of ransom. And if you have been following the trend, you realize that the Office of the NSC has always been the one receiving the victims, to show the collaboration that the state has with that office and the support it has been getting from the Office of the NSC towards that. And so far, Benungwari, we have recorded serious success in that. In the past 10 years, you realize that flying Benungwari Kaduna route, Lagos was almost impossible because of the incessant attacks. The same thing, the road from Gorgoji, that is in Zaria, there is a road from Gorgoji that leads to Puntua and Benungwari through Kidandan. That route too had been hellish for almost a decade. But because of this peace process, security has been able to be restored in these routes, and commuters and other motorists have been plying that route for almost 3 months now. In fact, last 4 weeks, we were in Giwa to perfect the peace process. I was there personally with the chief of staff of the governor, Sani Liman Kila, to actually reopen the Kidanda livestock market, which was closed for more than 5 years. The same thing about 5 weeks ago, His Excellency the Governor was in Bunungwari to open the market that was closed for almost a decade. And so Chukun processes is also there to ensure peace in Chukun local government and other. And because of the successes recorded in this peace process, we have other areas that are actually yearning for this
James, can you hear me?
process to be happening. And so we are on course, and we intend to expand the scope of this peace process to cover all the security challenged local governments in the state.
All right, Dr. So I think thank you for laying more insight on this. Yes. Thank you for giving us all the updates and how it's worked so far. But for Nigerians to understand this amnesty, Nigerians have skepticism when it comes to amnesty and the initiative and what it stands for. So could you throw more light on it? Let us know, let us in on the structure. How does it operate? What determines the eligibility of people that would be in this program, in this initiative? What constitutes amnesty? What is the structure of it? What criteria determines the eligibility? What are the components of the rehabilitation and reintegration? Educate us more. Let us know, who are those eligible for it? How do you identify those eligible? What is the structure? What is the operation like?
You see, as I said, it's the process that was initiated from the Office of the National Security Advisor for states that are really interested in it to cash in. And Kaduna State has actually cashed into it. And as I said earlier, it's been very successful so far. If you're asking me of who are eligible to it, the answer is simple. Those who are engaged in banditry, criminality, and want this peace process as a way of being reintegrated into the society are those that are eligible to be part of it. And so far, they have been the ones actually making moves for this peace process. And let me be very frank with you. They have been very helpful. Those who have cashed into this peace process have been actually helping the state government to even bring those into the process so that they can be part of it. So eligibility is those who have actually been involved in this criminality and want to be reintegrated into the society are those that are actually eligible. And so far, the process, once they are being reintegrated, the state government has a lot of initiatives that will actually bring them into the society. As I keep saying, the state government has 3 very, very big skill acquisition centers, mainly for rehabilitation of these repentant bandits who wish to be integrated. Apart from that, it's also used for development of the skills of the youth in the society. And so they be brought in, reintegrated, educated, go back to school if they desire, and then become productive. That is the essence. And of course, as I said, so far, so good.
All right. You've spoken about how you've seen changes in all of this, but major concern, because yesterday we opened phone line to some Nigerians to express their take on this, and majority of the calls we received was pointing towards not agreeing to this peace deal, considering the mayhem that bandits and terrorists have caused in Nigeria for the past decade. So don't you think this even though we give kudos to the Kaduna State government for thinking of another means to curb insecurity, could jeopardize the rule of law.
No, I don't think it will jeopardize the rule of law.
So,
You
so
know,
what
the
would you
rule
say?
of law
What
is
would you say to families that
the rule of law is
have,
meant for man.
been left with
No, not
scars?
meant for law. Just let me make a point. This issue of rule of law is purely a legal concept. You know, as I said earlier, if you have to go purely legalistic, you may not actually achieve the desired result. Even the Constitution itself recognizes exceptions to some of the basic human rights that are entrenched there. There is nowhere in the Constitution that the provisions are sacrosanct or absolute or cast in stone. So where the application of strict rule of law may lead to chaos and criminality. The Constitution itself allows for laws to be made to take care of certain issues. So I don't want to go into the issue of rule of law now, because when you are talking of peace process, the peace process itself is within the confines of rule of law. You cannot do you cannot embark on a peace process outside rule of law. So it's a marriage between the concept of law and the concept of peace. The entire constitution is about living in peace and welfare of the people. And if the state sees that the security of the citizen can be attained through a peace process that is constitutionally acceptable, why not? And I think this is the approach the Kaduna State government has actually adopted to ensure that this menace of mandatory kidnapping is actually brought to its knees.
Okay, so what is being done to pacify the families who have been affected by these bandits? Obviously we have people whom these bandits have wreaked havoc on their homes and the lives of their families. So what is being done, to see that there is peace? Like you said, you've been talking about peace over and over again. For that peace to reign, there needs to be a certain level of forgiveness on the part of the families. And seeing amnesty, these people are being reintegrated and brought back into the society, doesn't really look like justice served. So what is being done, to actually make sure there is justice in the whole equation?
The family is part of the peace. So, sometimes you can't just have everything your own way. The family is part of the integration process, and the state government is doing everything for the welfare and well-being of families. So it's not something that we are going to do in isolation with the state, with the families of those who are actually the victims. The state government has been actually commending, the families for understanding the process. And of course, as I said, they are part of the integration. And of course, their welfare and socio-economic well-being will also be taken care of by the state government.
All right, let's talk about the measures that the government is making in order to make sure these people don't go back to the criminal ways. We all know how difficult it is when someone has already been so used to handing a weapon where he can control the minds and behaviors of people, to let go of that much power. What is the government and security agencies putting in place to avert that situation of going back?
First, the bandits themselves are actually interested in the peace process. That is the first thing you should do. And so, since they are willing to inculcate or be part of the process, they are willing to be integrated in the society. As I said, the state government, to showcase the sincerity of the bandits towards this peace process, I've always insisted that the bandits should drop their arms, and so far they have done that. This is the first indication of the sincerity of the process. And two, they have accepted to be integrated back into the society. And this, as I said earlier, we've done by the creation of skill acquisition centers, where they will be rehabilitated, where they will be trained and made productive to the society. So these are some of the steps the state government is actually taking to ensure that, apart from the sincerity of the peace process, the bandits do not go back to where they were before now. And I think their sincerity is actually exhibited in their desire to ensure that this peace process works. And I may interest you to know that they are also assisting the government in actually talking to the other bandits who are yet to accept this peace process to come and join, ensure that peace is restored in the state.
All right. We know that security is doesn't just stem from people wanting to be bandits. There are socio-economic factors, economic factors, and political factors that have come to play when it comes to banditry and insecurity and even kidnapping. We see that this is being used as some sort of business. Some people are using it as some sort of survival skill, going to crimes for survival skill. So aside this initiative, what other measures is the Kaduna State government putting in place to ensure that these socio-economic factors are being addressed to prevent a resurgence? And also, what is being put in place to hold those accountable who eventually do not adhere to the rehabilitation process and go back?
First, that is where our charismatic and energetic, ever working governor comes in. To be very frank, the assumption into office, he has done a lot. He has not played politics in any way with security and lives of the people of Kaduna State. He has been very pragmatic and realistic in his approach to security issues, and for which we actually commend him, not only us, even people outside the state. The first thing is to address the socio-economic problems of the state. The state government, especially the governor, is very passionate about infrastructural development, especially in the rural areas. The mantra for his administration is rural transformation. And of course, most of this banditry take place in the rural areas. And to open them to economic activities is one of his cardinal objectives. Roads have been opened in almost all the rural areas. If you go to Kaduna State, it's a beehive of infrastructural activities. And so when the farmer has where to sell his produce, and he goes to farm and farm comfortably without being harassed or without feeling insecure, and then tomorrow he knows if he goes to market, he can sell his produce and get money and have a livelihood. Of course, the issue of banditry in terms of the socio-economic aspect of it is adequately addressed. And I think this is what the governor has set up. I made an example again that in the 3 senatorial districts, there are very mighty big skill acquisition centers. State-of-the-art facilities have been installed to help the youth to get a living out of their lives. So these are the things that the governor has been doing. The education sector is being improved. If you go to rural area, you see schools have been rehabilitated, new schools being built here and there, hospitals are being renovated and built, drugs are being supplied everywhere. So if all these socio-economic activities or infrastructure are put on ground and in place for the citizens of the state, I don't think the issue of addressing the crime will be a problem. These socio-economic issues are in the center of the administration of His Excellency. And so far, I want to assure you, he has done wonderfully well, to the commendation of all and sundry.
Doctor, you would agree with me that this is a very complex and really sensitive situation. Now, we all know that this is to broker peace between the people, and it would at least ease off some tension when it comes to the level of insecurity we're having in the country. But what is the communication with these communities? We know that rural areas are the ones that have suffered the level of insecurity in Nigeria. And if you're sending these bandits, people that are saying, oh, we have repented, and you're sending them back to these communities, how are you people engaging these communities to have some level of welcoming behavior or attitude towards these people, and not really push them back to where they're coming from, which of course you wouldn't blame the community, to feel that safe to welcome these people. So what are you people doing in terms of engaging the communities to accept something like this?
You see, as I said earlier, this peace process is not a one-sided affair. Critical stakeholders are involved. The community, the Office of the National Security Advisor, and the state government. If the community comes around, sits and agrees with the process, how would they not accept the integrated bandits? They have agreed initially, right from the beginning. They want this process. They love it. And they know that these bandits will be reintegrated, rehabilitated, and be absorbed in the society. So the community has already accepted. So I don't think there is a problem there where the community, they want this. And so this reintegration process is one of the processes that they actually cherish. Yeah. So I think we are on course on that. The community is not a problem. They have accepted to reintegrate, to be integrated, the bandits, and they are ready to stay in peace with them. I think this is it.
All right, now talking about
And let's go to other areas in southern Kaduna that there are pockets of banditry for now too, are all ready for this kind of peace process. And so we will cover this thing time.
all right, we saw the Niger Delta Amnesty program that happened, and we saw the challenges that came up with it. How is this different? What are you doing differently? We saw corruption came to play when it comes to the Niger Delta Amnesty program. That came to play majorly, and it also seemed like a short term. So at this point, how is this different? Nigerians are still questioning, how is it different from other amnesty programs that has happened? And what are the long-term plans to combat insecurity?
Well, I wouldn't want to compare ours with the amnesty in the southeast. There are two different indices, and the factors are not playing together. Kaduna is peculiar, so we want to approach it from the peculiarities of Kaduna State. And to us, this process we have adopted is best suited to us. If it works, amnesty works in the south and southeast, well, so be it. But to us, this is a process that we have adopted, and so the long-term plan is that we have started with it's working. We are in Iwa, it's working there. Chikun is next, it's working so far. So if it works, the issue of long-term planning is the issue of sustainability. We just sustain it and see how we can institutionalize it, and that's all.
Okay, so how is this funded, this initiative? How is this funded? Is there any expectations from state government or even international partners to aid in this?
Yes, we have started the process, as you said, the long-term implication till collaboration with other donor agencies and international organizations. But they have to see it work first. And so far, so good. The honesty, the sincerity that the state government has exhibited so far is going to work for us to attract international assistance.
Okay, so when it comes to, fighting and combating insecurity in Nigeria, we're hoping you're not just relying on just this initiative, this peace initiative for it. So what other measures has been put in place to continue fighting insecurity in Nigeria?
Well, it's as I said, you have to study the peculiarity of every situation and then try to find out the peculiar solution to it. Right? So far, as I said, this is the approach that is working for us. We are going to have an optional plan too to see that should other challenges arise, how do we best approach it? But we're not going to do that in isolation with the Office of the National Security Advisor, because what we're doing basically is based on intelligence report and advices. So when we get there, get the necessary intelligence and advice, I'm sure we'll cross it.
All right. Now, before we go, what measures is being taken to ensure that this initiative is not perceived as a sign of weakness or a sign of the government's inability to combat insecurity? What measures are being put in place to ensure that people are seeing that this is just beyond the government? Is it that the government can't fight insecurity, or they are weak, or they're just putting up this measure as a way to have a quick fix out of it? And how is it, what is being done to educate the people of Kaduna State that this is not an endorsement of criminal behaviors? Educate them in their local dialects. What is being done to put this information out there for every person in Kaduna State? Do they have an idea? Do they understand how it works? Are they being informed?
I don't think this process through dialogue, it's a sign of government. It is a sign of the strength the government has. Dialogue and peace process are two very strong approaches and weapons being used to ensure that the state controls, the peace and security of its citizenry. You cannot toy with the lives of your people because you want to show strength. What will strength prove at the end of it if your citizens are still there being killed every day? And there is a better way to address this issue. It doesn't make sense to me to say that you want to show might, and at the end you leave piles of bodies of your citizens lying down dead. So I don't think that approach is, if you have value and you love the lives of the people you govern, then approach that will bring peace, safety, and security should be adopted. And I think this is what Kaduna State government has done. So I think dialogue is not a sign of weakness on the side of the government. I don't think so.
Okay.
And we have done that, as I said earlier. The people are also involved in the dialogue, in the peace process. So they have a strong understanding of the process. The process is not isolation of the community. They are part of it, and they have accepted it, and that is why we're implementing it.
Okay.
Yes.
We hope to see a better result, a great result out of this peace deal. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Dr. James Kanyip.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
No worries, appreciate it. All right, that was Dr. James Kanyip. He is the Commissioner, the Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, work one-on-one, really close to the Governor of Kaduna State, Obasani, and hopefully we get to see a better outcome out of this peace deal that will serve the country at large.